We have to record this meetings. Yep. And we can tell them that some to the class on. So.
Recording in progress.
We need to let Alex know, right?
You're recording?
Thank you, Aditi, for joining. Just be patient for a while. We're waiting for the speaker to connect.
Hi, Alex. You should see a dialog box allowing you to become panelist.
Alex, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. Hello.
Thank you. Okay. So I'll introduce you and then you have some slides, I'm assuming, right?
I have indeed, yes.
Okay. And folks are still joining. And with your permission, can I record this in case for those ones?
Yeah, no problem, no problem. Please do record, no problem.
Okay, then we can make it available on our website and send out to students for those who wants to go back.
Yeah, no problem.
Good. Okay, so we can get started. So you want to hit recording, Jameson? Okay, great. Good morning, everyone, for today's workshop on cybersecurity workforce skills gap that will help you to gain your CISSP certification. Today's speaker is Mr. Alex Mortimer. Alex is a business leader who has worked in senior director positions in university, commercial, and not-for-profit sectors. He has worked in academia and has developed teams at Airbus, AstraZeneca, BAE Systems, and many more companies. Alex has also worked in business and has built a reputation in the supply chain industry as a thought leader. He is listed in the top 25 of the supply chain influence on social media by SAP Century Conference in USA and top 50 of the global business supply chain thought leaders. He created the supply chain apprenticeship standards in the UK, for which all UK universities must adhere to these standards for creating their supply chain degree. He is now supporting the development of cybersecurity standards in UK. Alex currently heads up the Global Academic Partnership at ISC2, the world's leading cybersecurity professional organization. He oversees the strategy and works with the community. He's also involved in advocacy, policy work, promoting the cybersecurity profession and creating the cybersecurity standards for apprenticeships. He is also a non-executive board member at the University of Suffolk and external visiting senior lecturer at Anglina Ruskin University, California State University, Fresno, Royal Holloway, University of London, University of West London, and University of East London. That's quite a mouthful of accomplishments, Alex. Thank you so much for your sharing your time this morning with us and with our students. And I think the floor is yours. You can share your screen and start presenting.
Hi, I just want to say hi to everyone and thank you for the opportunity to present to you today. I am going to turn my camera off because just for bandwidth, I am based in London in the UK. So thanks again for the opportunity, and I'm going to share my screen now and go through the slides. And I hope you enjoy the presentation. Okay, you should be able to see my screen and you should be able to see the full slide. Can you see the full slide on the screen? Hello?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so it's the whole screen you have, yeah?
Yep, it looks good.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, so let's get started. So hello and welcome. So my name is Alex Mortimer. I've been around in education for over 25 years now. I've worked in all forms of education at university level. I've been a director in two UK universities. I've, as Prakash has said, I've worked in business and supply chain, working with a number of organisations as well. I've created standards, and now I head up the global academic kind of partnerships arm of ISC2. Where I work with a team of fantastic folk working all the way around the world, and that helps with giving a bit of a perspective on what I will be talking about today for cybersecurity as well, and I'll present that shortly. Today we're going to kind of explore kind of the current state of business, the cyber sector workforce skills gap, and why gaining certifications, in fact all certifications, not just ours, are really important for your career as well, because it's really important to emphasize that all forms of learning are important, to help you kind of get ahead. So today's agenda, I want to talk about who we are. Hopefully you've heard of us. Talking about the current state of global business. I'm going to give some real good perspectives. I hope they make sense. I'm a mathematician by trade and a statistician by trade, so I can't help but compare numbers. So I'm going to be comparing some numbers for you from 2021 to 2023, and I've also got 2024 figures as well, now that they've just come out from our research. I'm going to talk about what business leaders are actually thinking about, what are the risks, and I'm going to talk about the role of cybersecurity in a business, and then talk about certifications as well. And hopefully by the end, I'll get some good questions from yourselves as well. So ISC2. So ISC2 is the world's, we call ourselves the world's leading membership organization for cybersecurity professionals. We've been around for 40 years. Some of our certifications, such as CISSP, has been around for 30 years this year. We have well over 675,000 members, candidates, and associates around the globe. And these are professional cybersecurity professionals as well. Those who have been in it for a while, those who are maybe new to cybersecurity as well. But the beauty is this network it's all about looking at how we can, learn from each other, understanding, what's happening with a cyber attack. How can we kind of stay ahead of the game? And we have a whole library of resources available, from papers, from education skills, webinars that you can tap in on to help you in your career. Even now, from our research for your papers, but actually, in the future, in your careers as well. Now, the current state of business. Is a very, very interesting place. Okay, if I had stood up in 2015, just 9 years ago, and I said, in 2016 we're going to have Brexit in the UK, in 2020 we're going to have a global pandemic, people, and then wars around the world, you probably would have thought I was crazy, right? But as that has happened, and and I am a supply chain guy, so I've worked in the supply chain. I've worked in every activity within the supply chain. Okay, and the world works around supply chain, because if you don't have an effective supply chain, your goods do not arrive, and your customers don't pay. And if your customers don't pay you as a business, it means you don't have a business. It's as simple as that. So supply chains are incredibly important. Okay, now if you go to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, they have a wonderful graph. That's a global kind of supply chain pressure index, which basically records the general level of pricing globally for shipping, which gives a real good indication of the pressures in business, but also the general level of pricing generally. And I've included the link at the bottom of the page here, so please do have a look at it. And the graph looks like this. Okay, the graph here, this one looks at from Brexit, so you can see the pressure on pricing kind of going up, and then you can see through COVID the price went up with the pressures on supply chains. And then if you look at the latest kind of figures, it kind of comes back down and back up. Now, the reason why I include this graphic in this presentation is because the number of attacks that we have in cyber globally follows the exact same graph line. And the reason it does that is because whenever there's a problem or an issue around the world, there are more cyber attacks. Whenever businesses are not focusing on business and there's a disruption, that's when there's a cyber attack, when more attackers want to try and get hold of your data or your funds, and affect your business. So use this data as part of your assignments. Have a look at it, look at the research. Don't just believe the stuff that I'm saying, by the way. Please do test my sources, and please do test the words that I'm saying as well. Now, every year ISC2 produce a research piece where we interview all of our members in multiple languages globally, and that helps us produce a cybersecurity workforce study. The next one is out in October, and I will forward you the latest data as well, but I have actually included it in some of the data here today. Now, in 2021, the estimated workforce for cybersecurity professionals was 4.19 million, and we estimated that there was actually a gap of 2.72 million, so the needed workforce globally was 6.91 million. In 2022, we had the estimated workforce was 4.66 million. The gap was 3.43 million, and needed workforce was 8.09 million, which meant that the cybersecurity workforce needed to increase by 74% to close the gap. Now, in 2023, which actually is very close to 2024, we actually now have 5.5 million global cybersecurity workers, and we actually need 9.5 million cybersecurity global workforce workers, which is quite shocking actually, because obviously it's demonstrating that there is a demand for cybersecurity workers, and because if you look at the data, in 2024, we've had so many cyber attacks; it's ridiculous globally. We've had issues with some of the major brands here. I mean, in the UK, sorry, I have to include the UK. Apologies, but in 2023, I mean, some of the big brands like WH Smith is a big retailer in the UK, as is JD Sports, which there are a couple in the US, for example. But these are big companies, big organisations that are struggling with cyber attacks. Just this week in the UK, we had a lot of train cancellations because we saw a massive cyber attack on the Wi-Fi through all of the platforms in major cities in the UK. And again, you would think that these larger organizations and and the public sector would think about dealing or having a proactive approach to dealing with a cyber attack, right? But the problem is they don't think it through, and they don't have a plan or a process. Now, the other thing I want to kind of highlight here is that if larger organizations are struggling with cyber attacks, what about the smaller organizations? So around the world, smaller organizations are well, in the UK we call them SMEs, small to medium sized businesses, and there are 5.5 million SMEs in the UK, but actually around the world, most organizations are small to medium sized businesses, and they make up maybe 95% of the world. But actually, what we've seen and encountered is that 50% of those businesses don't have the right people, the right skills, the right processes to deal with a cyber attack. And we're seeing that across the board, which is absolutely shocking. And the gap puts organizations around the world at risk. Report some level of, and this translates into this data, which we have from our study, where we're seeing now that 51% do not have enough time to even conduct a proper risk assessment. 39% are slow to patch critical systems. And if you think about it logically, this makes sense, because if you're a small business, you're wearing a number of hats. You're doing a lot of your job. One minute you're an HR director or a manager, and another minute you're doing something completely different because you're a small organization. You don't have time to conduct this. But all of this, that we're trying to, as ISC2, we're trying to promote the fact that they need to make cybersecurity a priority. Okay, not just in the UK but globally, and these are global data, by the way, not just UK or US centric. This is global data. Yeah. Sorry, wrong button. And skill gaps are also a significant global issue, with 91% reporting skill gaps in all organizations around the world. So that means that you guys learning cybersecurity from your top colleagues there, your top academics there, is a wonderful thing, a wonderful opportunity for you into the marketplace, and show off your skills. Yeah. So the top 10 ways global organizations are trying to prevent or mitigate cybersecurity staff shortages. There's a lot more intake now in training, doing a lot more awareness training, particularly around HR colleagues and business partners, because they need to understand when they're recruiting colleagues for cybersecurity or in IT, they understand what those roles entail. And they're also providing flexible working conditions as well, because, I mean, our CISO for ISC2, he's based in London. He's not in an office in the US. You can work anywhere as well. And there's a lot more now investment in EDI or DEI initiatives, which people like and prefer, which is great to see, because the data says the more diverse your staff, the more effective and productive it is at them. That is research fact. Now, the global skill gaps are highest in, this is wrong now, it's changed. The highest skill gaps are in AI and machine learning, and cloud computing, and then trust. It's actually just, you know, and people still do not understand, you know, the use of AI effectively. People are still scared of it, rather than using it as a tool to help you in your job to become more effective. You know, from a predictions point of view for 2025 and 2026, you're going to see a lot more security around the use of AI, zero trust, and computing as well. And then I thought I'd share some interesting data from around the world. There's always a mismatch on what people's kind of thinking is, or in relation to the skills that cybersecurity professionals want to develop, thinking they're in demand, versus the skills cybersecurity hiring managers are actually looking for. So you know, you got to think about it from this point of view. That you know, you need to do the skills that businesses need, and actually there's a point here that I want to make as well. I mean, I like business, right? But businesses don't have the answer. Okay, you always have to work with academics, because together, you know, you can be more effective if you work and collaborate together. Okay, but in business, there's real thinking of, you know, how do we close the cybersecurity workforce skills gap? We'll put them on CISSP, and that's not always the right thing to do. You know, you need to educate people, you know, from a junior level to a medium to middle managers, and create some kind of cybersecurity skills career path to educate everybody at every level, and working with universities as well is always really important. We're also seeing more women and greater ethnic diversity with younger practitioners as well. So as you can see from the data, you know, there are more females coming into the market, more into cybersecurity. We're seeing a lot more nurses, for example, that hated it during COVID, and rightly so, and wanting to come into cyber, and doing a great job in the sector as well, which is lovely to see as well. Organizations are looking for cybersecurity staff who possess these attributes as well. So during COVID, the rule book went out the window. Okay, you needed to think quickly, you needed to adapt to the market quickly, and what was happening with COVID, and we were all essential workers or key essential workers during that time. And so businesses are looking for people to problem solve quickly, and create processes that work as well. And you guys are lucky because you're working in a university, doing a university program where you're actually developing these skills as you're writing assignments or participating in lectures as well, which is great. But obviously they're really, really important. The other thing as well is companies want people to be able to, you know, be curious and ask questions. I'm going to give you a bit of a personal experience here. I mean, like I said, I've worked in shipping and supply chain, and what I've noticed is that procurement people like looking at a spreadsheet, and they don't really talk to other departments, you know. And in IT, the majority of IT professionals and cybersecurity professionals tend to be introverts as well. They don't kind of go out and talk to people. But we need to do more of that. We need cybersecurity professionals to go to different departments and help explain to them. The fact is, don't click on that phishing email. Explain to them, you know, that you know, the malicious software and how that would affect, you know, their business, you know, and we need to break down those barriers, which is why effective communication is probably the most important skill you could have in any business or in a university setting, and understanding how people work and communicating in a way that's more effective to eliminate any conflict as well. And cybersecurity certifications are up there as well, because certifications demonstrates that you have competency, you know, in a level. Okay, and that's why they're kind of important as well. Okay, ISC2 certifications and why they matter. Well, the most effective way the companies tend to develop talent is basically through certifications. The data shows that you know, more and more companies are recruiting people with certifications, but actually they're helping their own staff develop certifications as well. In-house training. So we do, I mean, just this week I developed a short course with a university for a business, understanding the fundamentals of cybersecurity, but also understanding, you know, cryptography and the basics and all of those kinds of areas as well. So in-house training is important. We're seeing a lot more people go to conferences and trying to understand the effects of cybersecurity as well. And obviously having external training and mentoring and coaching is also important as well. But the problem is that every business is in a different place. you know, and sometimes you've got to start with the basics and the fundamentals to help close the cybersecurity workforce skills gap. And don't forget, people in HR, people in other departments, in marketing, in business development, sales, they don't understand supply chain, they don't understand cybersecurity. So sometimes you've got to, you know, talk to them and keep chipping away and explaining to them, you know, this is really, really important, and build programs and short courses that can help them understand those areas as well. So why do cybersecurity professionals get certified? Well, ultimately, it's to stay ahead of the game. Okay, it's to stay ahead of the attackers. And now our material gets updated every year because we want to give those examples and case studies with what's happening around the world. And ultimately, they want to improve their skills. They want to stay ahead and current with the latest trends. And certifications are certainly an important part of their career development as they go up the career ladder. You know, having CISSP or CCSP or any of the certifications, you know, as well as the others, are important as people kind of get recognized as well. And these are the certifications that we offer for universities and students. You know, they range from junior to advanced, and I'll talk very briefly about each of these over the coming slides as well. But if you do want to have a look at them in a bit more detail, here's the website. So it's isc2.org/certifications, and there is a lot of detail on there for you to kind of look at and see. So why do cybersecurity professionals get certified? Well, ultimately, as I said earlier, it really is to improve their skills, to stay ahead of those current trends, and that's just to kind of highlight those areas as well. But because we're very well known, ISC2 is very well known as a later career certification provider. But what we have seen is that those who have our certifications and graduate with us with the degree, their masters and our certifications, they get higher pay, and because they're recognized globally, you know. And so what we thought we'd do is for those who don't meet the experience requirements, you know, you become an associate of ISC2. And therefore you're able to gain the certification and as an associate, you know, progress in your career as well. Now we do offer a free entry-level certification called Certified in Cybersecurity, and what that does, it covers, you know, it's those, you don't have to have a lot of experience. You just need the drive and the passion to kind of go through and learn. But what it does cover is the fundamentals of security principles. It talks about business continuity, disaster recovery, incident response, which is great. Network security, access control concepts, and security operations. I have not heard one negative thing about this certification. In fact, I was doing a little bit of research into local villages and towns in the UK, and I was surprised to see that even, you know, local governments were suggesting that people should do this certification because it gives you a good grounding. It's holistic. It's not it's not a technical background, but it gives a real good understanding of cybersecurity and where it's from, and it's free of charge. Okay, so as part of our commitment to help close the cybersecurity workforce skills gap, it's definitely worth you guys going onto our website, applying for CC, and we can help you kind of get a report on how you're doing as well. So go onto the website, do that certification, do the exam, and have a certification. And it's already been asked by junior roles. Candidates holding this certification are more likely to get those jobs at in junior kind of level roles as well. Okay, so definitely worth having a look at as well. Now, as part of this presentation, I was asked to kind of talk about our higher level certifications as well. So I'm going to talk about the CISSP. Where the CISSP sits, it's equivalent to a master's in terms of level. Okay, it's not equivalent to a master's, but in terms of the postgraduate education in terms of level, and it is known as the gold standard in cybersecurity, as it's been around for 30 years, and it's ideally for those who are kind of really those who want to be in network as a network architect, a security consultant, a security architect, a security auditor, a manager, an analyst, a systems engineer, and you know, we've even had, you know, directors of cybersecurity, chief information officers do this, and CISOs do this as well. So it's ideal for those kinds of people as well. But you are able to do this certification if you're doing a master's, and as I say, become an associate of ISC2. And what it covers is the end-to-end piece within cybersecurity, where we cover security and risk management, asset security, security architecture and engineering, communication and network security, identity and access management, security assessment and testing, security options, software development security. So I'm pretty sure you've seen some of these topics within the programs that you're on, and probably know a little bit about them. And I mean, I've got the detail behind the detail here, right? So I can kind of go through all of the kind of the subtopics within. But the point is here, you know, you're on a fantastic program there, and you're able to take the exam for CISSP to enable you to gain the certification. And as I say, you know, it's worth doing these certifications as others as well as your university program, which keeps you in good stead with promotion and supporting getting that cyber job, which is what it's all about. Now, there are other certifications as well. I'm going to touch on them very, very briefly, because I think it's important to kind of understand the different activities within cybersecurity as well. But before I do that, are there any questions while I pause for breath before I go on to the other certifications? Any questions at all so far?
There are 2 questions online.
Okay.
Oh.
Do you want to ask me that? I can't see the question.
Okay. What is the speaker's opinion of learning cybersecurity in academia instead of jumping into industry? Okay,
that's a good question. Both are valid because I'm into apprenticeships as well. In academia, you're getting a highly credible university award, which means that you've got a good level of understanding, and you're able to kind of demonstrate that you're capable and able to do the job, from that kind of that role from being a graduate, so it's definitely worth considering, and it's definitely worth doing. And the fact is, the university that you're at is a global one, it's one that's recognized globally, and whether you're in another country or in the US, it's always good to have, for sure. But my response here, you should have both. It's always in technology. If technology always improves, always gets better, you can't stand still, which is why you need to have both a degree, a master's, if you're lucky, and the certification at the same time. I hope I've answered that question okay. Any other questions?
There is one more, I think. Hello, Alex. Is there any discount vouchers for ISC2 exams for students? I'm thinking to taking about SSCP by January, and was wondering about this.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, there's no discount on exams because of the rates that we have with our Pearson VUE, and it's to do with our accreditation, unfortunately. But there are discounts on the materials that you can use to help you pass. And we're in talks with the university for them to be able to offer these certifications. So if I was you, I'd hold fire until we've had those discussions, and then we can kind of see what happens and progress with that from there, if that's okay. Okay, I'm going to go on to the next.
There is one more question.
Okay.
CompTIA Security Plus also covers similar objectives shown for CISSP. How would you say is different from, if there is any?
They're both valid. They're both fantastic certifications. One is more technical than the other. Ours is very holistic and covers all the activities within the end-to-end kind of cybersecurity. But ours is just a focus on business rather than technical. Okay, which is why it's a bit more recognized. CISSP it's almost like an MBA if you think about it in terms of recognition. But like I say, they're both very good, and they both cover some good stuff. So it's definitely worth doing both. Okay. Okay, I hope that's okay for a second. We'll come back to some questions in a second. So SSCP demonstrates the advanced technical skills and knowledge to implement and monitor and administer IT infrastructure using best practices. Okay, and ideally, these are for job roles such as, just thinking it through, those who are, network security engineers, those who are in systems administrator roles, those who are kind of security analysts, engineers, security consultants and specialists, those who are analysts and security analysts, database administrators, health information managers, and any kind of practice managers as well. I've seen those kind of roles for SSCP. It's probably one of my favorite certifications, if I'm honest. And it also covers, security operation administration, access controls, risk identification, monitoring analysis, incident response, which is always important, especially for supply chain, cryptography, network and communication security, systems and application security as well. Now, the next certification, which is also of interest amongst people and a very much a growing area, is obviously certified in cloud security, the CCSP certification, which proves, advanced technical skills and knowledge. So, as I say, all of these certifications are to demonstrate your competency in each of these areas. Okay, that's all they do, really, and that's why they're important for businesses, because it demonstrates if you've passed it, as well as the university qualification you have, it means you've got the competency to understand, what happens with cloud. Okay, that's what they mean. Yeah. So the job roles for this particular certification, again, you're looking at cloud architects, cloud engineers, cloud consultants, auditors of cloud computing services, cloud specialists, the cloud developers, so all of those kind of job roles is where you'd see people holding the CCSP value. And by the way, if you have our certifications, we've seen people get, anything between 10 and 30, 40, 50,000 pounds more in salary as a result of these certifications. So that's the value, that's the value. So for CCSP, as you'd expect, these are the different domains, as you can see on the screen, but they cover, concepts, architecture design, they cover kind of cloud data security, application security, legal risk and compliance as well, for all areas. Now I love governance, risk and compliance. So the next certification demonstrates your knowledge and understanding and skills in governance, risk and compliance as well. Now this is quite an important one because we see a lot more in health, government, veterans, military, banking, insurance, a real growth kind of area for us. And the jobs that I've seen on places like Indeed, if you go on the Indeed website, these are the kind of the job roles. So you're looking at, cybersecurity auditors, compliance officers, governance, risk and compliance architects, managers, project managers that work in these areas in risk and compliance, control analysts, third-party risk managers, enterprise risk managers. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head other roles I've seen. People like directors in information assurance positions, or managers in information assurance positions. So there are quite a few good roles in there, and quite good areas for you to think about. And then the other areas, on this particular certification, it covers, anything to do with risk, obviously, because that's the kind of the aim of this whole thing. But for incident response is important. Anything to do with these kinds of initiatives as well. So definitely worth considering. Definitely a growth area for us. And the other certification of interest could be the CSSLP. So that's Certified Secure Software Lifecycle Professional, and incorporating security practices into each phase of software development lifecycle. And the roles that I've seen on Indeed, just a Google search, really covers, software architect, software engineer, from memory, software developer, quality assurance tester, penetration tester, security manager, and those kind of job roles as well. And in that certification, in each domain, for each area of software, secure software, so we go through everything basically from concepts, life cycle, architecture, implementation, testing, and the beautiful supply chain as well. Sorry, I do have a fondness of the supply chain, as you can probably tell. Okay, so the benefits of ISC2 certification. I'm just gonna do these because I'm gonna go through them all one by one. But essentially, industry recognizes these certifications. So no matter where you are, what you're doing, everyone knows what a CISSP is. Everyone knows what an ISC2 is. Okay, so you're instantly kind of got that kind of credibility in the marketplace already. Our data is saying that those who have both a university degree and our cybersecurity certifications demonstrate your resolve and need to succeed. And those that have them are offered higher pay and have greater financial stability as well. By joining the club, by joining the network, you're able to join our chapters as well, which I'll talk about in a minute a little bit more. But that means you'll be networking with other professionals, learning the best practices, and growing through the the best practices that are out there as well. And our certifications cover a wide range of cybersecurity topics and domains, so you're kind of learning every aspect of cyber as well, which is always a good thing in learning as well. Now, I've accidentally fallen into this. I wish I'd thought about all of these areas, but I've put a portfolio for academics and students as well. So what I've been doing by accident is we've created a lot of research at ISC2, which we provide to academic partners. And that gives it to students. So we have a lot of data on DEI, a lot of data on women getting into cybersecurity. We have a lot of data on veterans getting into cyber, for example, and some of the data that I've shared with you today. We're actually going to create journals in the new year for research as well with our academic partners, which is lovely. So that means, professors will be reading through our journals and editing them and providing content which is of interest to the world. We have an academic peer-to-peer networking group, which is great. So we have a group of maybe 80 to 100 academics around the table, and we share best practice, but we break it down into subgroups as well. So one recent group created supply chain risk incident response papers, which has created courses, which they then use within programs. So that's the kind of stuff we do as well. We do a lot of academic conferences and a lot of career fairs as well. So in the UK, I'm attending a couple of UK career fairs where we're presenting on, how to get a cyber job. So you'll have access to webinars on how to get a job, how to write a decent resume, a CV. You'll be hearing from graduates, those who are in the job maybe a year, who can give you an idea of what they've been going through as well. And all of these things are available as part of the club, as part of the network online, which you can access as well. And we'll be doing a lot of events in person in the US as well, as we kind of grow and establish ourselves as well. But they are online as well, which you can access as well. So students can attend our early career webinars on how to get a cyber job, which is really, really cool for you guys. And as I said earlier, our certifications are actually globally recognized, and those who are hiring now actually have the certifications themselves. So it's easy to be immediately recognized as having that skill set and that competency as well. Yeah. Now, ISC2 certifications are generally valued by professionals, employers around the world. They are the industry's most highly sought after achievements and certifications, as are others as well, by the way. I do like the other certification providers as well. But from our side, it is about the fact is that our certifications are not just written by academics, they're written by business folk as well, as we work together and support one another. If you want to know more about anything I've said today, our general email address is academic@isc2.org. That's academic@isc2.org. But my personal email address is amortimer@isc2.org. If you have any questions, any thoughts, if you want me to have a look at your resume, for example, and you want some ideas or some advice, please do email me. I'll be more than happy to help and support you as you go through this journey. That's all I really wanted to say today. Do you have any questions?
Thank you so much, Alex, for your presentation. I appreciate it. Let's see. Okay. Is this question related to the certificates? When I see something there. Okay, is the material shown today going to be sent out? Yes, we will send out the link after we know the recording link available, and then possibly, do we have this slides also made available, Alex, so we can share?
I'll send them to you. No problem. I'll send them to you.
Okay.
You can have that, and you can distribute the slides.
Is there a particular link that they go to for resources? Do you have any particular resources for students?
Yeah. If you go to isc2.org/research, there's a whole load of research papers in there. But more and more are coming out. I know there's a new research piece from the the Cybersecurity Workforce Skills Gap. Details are coming out in a few weeks. But we like I say, from the new year, there'll be a load more papers on lots of different areas coming out on that website, on that pages as well. But as a member, as part of the team, you'll get all of this stuff well in advance as well.
Typically, from your experience, students in the undergraduate program, do they take during their junior, senior year these certifications, or graduate students?
Yeah,
What do
yeah.
you see from
Typically, undergraduates, those who are doing their first degree, tend to do the CC because it's free, and why not? Because you get a taster for it, and then they do the SSCP, then the CCSP potentially, and more so in these areas because more people want to know about cloud and AI than governance, risk, and compliance, for example. And then if you're a master's student, you tend to do the CISSP. Or the CGRC. So we get a lot of students doing those programs. And when they graduate, they're in a job within 6 months because of the fact that they have both certifications and their degree. And you need both together. Okay, don't think it's just a certification and not your degree, because you need both. You definitely need both.
What is your opinion on CCNA security? Thinking of getting, since I was planning on getting CCNA anyway, is it competitive or should I complement with something else instead?
I think you should do it, and I think you should do them all, because the more education you have, the better. And the fact is, it's highly recognized anyway. They're all important. CompTIA are important. EC Council are important. They're all important. I mean, in the UK, we have different frameworks. In the UK, we have CyBOK. In the US, you have the NICE framework. They're slightly different, but they're both valuable. Okay, so you need to embrace all of them and engage with them for sure.
How beneficial is the CC certification? Specifically, is it DoD 8570 approved or other government organization approved that can validate the relevance of the certification to the cybersecurity?
All of our certifications are approved by the DoD, and so they're highly recognized. We do a lot of work with universities when they're applying for federal grant funding, simply because they are all accredited and approved by the DoD. So yes.
Do you think for those who don't have any experience, right from graduate, are there any entry-level job for cybersecurity for students, the first certificate that you would recommend? What would you recommend?
CC for sure, because it gives you instantly a recognizable certification. And as I say, I'm seeing a lot of job. If you go on Indeed and have a look at the job availability, you'll be surprised by the number of posts that are requested the individuals for junior roles hold CC. So it's definitely.
What would the titles for those jobs look like?
That's a very good point. I don't know, but what I'll do is I'll do some research and I'll send you a link and some examples for those junior role titles. But they tend to be, even like internships. Some of them are, like a project manager type thing or something along those kind of lines. But I'll get you a list and send them over for you to distribute to the class.
Which of these certifications will be good for a biomedical engineering student looking at how rapid IoTs is infiltrating the medical space?
Ooh, that's a very good question. None of them, if I'm honest. Right? But I mean, look, it's a very hot topic. It's very important, and as part of 2025, that is an increasingly growth area. Okay, but the thing that I suppose the CCSP comes close to it for cloud security, but realistically, the only reason you'd get a certification like CISSP, for argument's sake, is to help you demonstrate your competency at that level, and that's what it does, right? It isn't. I think you're more better off doing other courses as well. Yeah, I'm being honest. Yeah.
Thank you. I think this question, I don't know whether it's related to certificates, but I think somebody's asking you, have you heard of
It's an important thing, though, but that the element of what is really important. It's definitely an important piece for the future, for sure.
Have you heard of what are your thoughts on looming US East Coast port strike set to start on October 1st? And how do you see it's affecting the US and the world? And this is just a general question.
Thanks for that. Listen, at the moment, with what's happening with supply chain, it's going to cause a lot of effects in the US. In fact, not just the US, but everywhere. Because if there's a port delay, it means that the ships aren't arriving, and you can't take the containers off the vessels, going on your lovely big trucks and then distributing out to a distribution center or to store or to customer. Or to Amazon or wherever. So it's going to have a big effect, and it's going to cost the country a lot of money, as it always does. But it is going to cause a big effect, unfortunately.
There are other certifications looking at industrial cybersecurity. So what are your thoughts on GCISP?
Good question. I think it's good. I think it's okay. You know, it is a good thing to have. You know, look, I'm an educationalist, right? You're asking me questions about, you know, should I do this certification or that certification? Do them all, because they all have value. They all, the more learning you
Cost
have.
money. Students don't have.
Well,
I
yeah,
think
well,
you need.
okay. Well, first and foremost, you should do the certifications that are going to help you get a job. Okay, so the ones that are going to help you get a job are the CISSP and your degree. You know, first and foremost, and once you have money, then you can do the rest.
And they don't need any experience. These certificates don't
No,
need.
they become associates, and away they go.
And the
Absolutely.
resources are available for free on your website, or they have to pay for some.
For the certification, if we work with the university, then and you're delivering the certification, then they can get the resources at a discounted rate.
Okay, sounds good. I think those are the questions, and maybe we can stop the webinar now. But I want to have some few minutes with you, Alex, and I'll send you another Zoom link if you don't mind. We can chat on
No problem.
5-10 minutes. But thank you everybody for joining. The recording will be made available shortly and send you the link. Thank you, Alex, for your time this morning.
Thank you, and just a big thank you to all of you, and thanks for listening. You know, I know it's not easy listening to an Englishman over in the UK, but I appreciate it seriously, and I wish you all the very best in your studies, your career, and please do email me if you want me to look at your resume. Happy to support and help as well.
We have one last question I saw for a pathway as.
It better be an easy one. Go on.
I'm sorry, I just don't want. I want to answer all my students' question. For a pathway as someone who works in healthcare or health informatics, what pathway would you suggest in certification towards becoming a consultant?
It depends on what area you want to study, and it depends on which kind of focus you want. Look, I would start with the CC. I know it's a bit crazy, but I start with the basics because it covers a little bit of that in the basics, but also the CISSP would cover some of that as well. But there are other ones that are good as well, and I can't not say that. So, you know, have a look around and see what other ones you can use. Okay, I'm not. Part of me thinks the CISSP isn't the right one, but you need to have a look. Okay, you need to have a look.
Good. Thank you, Alex. I'll send you another link. Please join the other link. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. See you soon. Thanks, guys. Take care. All the best. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Bye for now.